our Ambassador, Dr. Neil Parson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. His Excellency, I have a couple of new titles. His Excellency, Ambassador to the United Nations, Rodney Charles, Consular General for Miami, Dr. Anna Ramnahan, Executive Director, Alternate for the Inter-American Development Bank, Mr. Kurt Kisto, Ambassador Ram Bisoon, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you, sir. Organizers, Nohar Singh, where is Nohar? Thank you, sir. Let me thank you in advance at the beginning and at the end. Distinguished my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Parson. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, especially invited guests, friends, family. Thank you very kindly for inviting me here this evening and allowing me to share with you some of my thoughts with respect to the task I have ahead of me. And I would also share with you some of the plans that we have installed for the United States in my capacity as Ambassador to the United States, Ambassador to Mexico, and Ambassador to the Organization of American States. It's an extreme challenge trying to follow. By the way, Ambassador Charles is in fact, and was in fact, and I'm saying is because I'm bringing it back to present tense, a pastor. So one could expect the passion and wonderful delivery he displayed. I was going to spend a bit of time sharing some of my thoughts with respect to trade and investment, but I told Dr. Anil Ramadan did a tremendous job at doing that. Thank you, sir. So I would, instead of reading from a text, simply speak to you the way I know how to do so, which is from the heart. As far as the role of Ambassador to the United States goes, there are a couple of functions one has to follow. One is, and I'm sure His Excellency Ram Bisoon would agree with me, it's maintaining, sustaining, and improving our diplomatic relations with the United States, which are bilateral arrangements. And we have shared very long, very cordial relations with the United States in energy security, in security as a whole, hemispheric security, trade and investment, as well as looking after the welfare of our citizens, both in the United States as well as in Trinidad and Tobago. And I also understand it's an absolute pleasure. This is the first time in as many days that I have the honor of addressing members of the Guyanese community as well. I was in the Islamic Society of the Washington area, ISWA, very recently addressing the mosque there, and it was a pleasure interacting with the Guyanese nationals. And I thoroughly admire the level of reciprocity with respect to mutual respect both communities have for each other. On May the 24th, 2010, as you saw, our country went into elections. Our country voted for its first Prime Minister in the form of the Right Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessing. Trinidad and Tobago has never been the same since. We have gone through quite a period of change, both infrastructurally, structurally as far as our government goes, and quite a number of new faces, new positions, assuming responsibilities such as the one I have, and the four others I share with my colleagues. Let me alleviate your fears, because the media has been reporting in some instances, and we have seen it on the blogs, about their questioning the level of political stability as it exists in Trinidad and Tobago. A coalition government, like any other, involves a number of parties coming together, and let me assure you, as the Prime Minister continues to assure us, it is well cemented with very robust adhesive holding the party together. Let me assure you, as businessmen, I will be concerned that political stability is in question. It is not in Trinidad and Tobago. That's the first point. Second point, as a businessman myself, as an entrepreneur myself, I would also question where are we with respect to any upcoming elections. Let me also tell you, within 2 years, we have one more election to come, and that's called the Tobago House of Assembly election, the THA elections, and it involves the internal governance of one of our islands, Tobago. It has nothing to do with the manifestations therein of central government of Trinidad and Tobago. So we are on a footing for one more elections in the form of an interim elections, the Tobago House of Assembly elections. Thirdly, as far as our international relations go, we share very cordial bilateral relations with most of South America, throughout the Caribbean in the form of CARICOM. And I have the privilege of being one of the ambassadors on the caucus of CARICOM ambassadors. It's currently being chaired by Grenada. And I am extremely pleased and privileged to be part of that body because it involves 14 member states of CARICOM voting en bloc most of the time, with the 34 other countries of the Organization of American States. Just to educate you a bit, the OAS plays a critical role in the preservation of Western Hemispheric democracy. I am sure all of us in this room cherish the fact is that we live in a democracy and want to keep it that way. Not so. We are seeing tremendous evidence of change worldwide, starting in the Middle East, Yemen, Jordan, Algeria, Egypt. We're now in Libya, and that change is almost tsunami in that part of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I would actually ask you again to give yourselves a round of applause in honor of the fact that we can preserve democracy in the Western Hemisphere. As far as the mandate of the government of Trinidad and Tobago is concerned, my colleagues touched on this, I will not delve into it much further. Let me tell you, in principle, the government has laid 7 pillars for sustainable development to take Trinidad and Tobago into the next 5, if not decade, 5 years into the next decade. These are ICT, poverty and social justice, and the eradication of poverty, people-centered knowledge, security, foreign policy, good governance, among others. Our economy in Trinidad and Tobago, like most other economies in the world, went through a period of contraction. The United States in itself is showing a very slight rebound as of January 2011, and they expect growth. We anticipate a 2.1% increase in our GDP. Our GDP currently stands at $18,990 per capita, which is quite still a very admirable figure for a third world country in the Caribbean. We are ahead of developed countries like Colombia. We are ahead of developed countries like Colombia, who currently stand at 3,700 US GDP per cap, and we are not far behind the likes of some of the Middle Eastern countries, thanks to our supply of oil and gas. With respect to our oil and gas, I can also tell you, as of 2 or 3 years ago, we were supplying about 76% of the natural gas to the eastern seaboard of the United States. That figure has now dropped to about 53%. It's not a worrisome figure, mind you, because other forms of energy are being sourced by the US, and rightfully so. But it has also allowed us, out of good cometh greater good, and out of bad cometh good. It has also allowed us the opportunity to begin to explore and exploit downstream industries from our oil and gas. 10 years ago, Trinidad was based on a petroleum-based economy. Right now, 85% of our energy dollars come from natural gas. And we produce the equivalent of about 811,000 barrels of oil equivalent of energy that generates us a revenue in and around the vicinity of a GDP of $13 billion per annum. It is quite an achievement for our country, 5,100 square kilometers, with a humbled population of 1.8 million people. As far as from a business point of view, ladies and gentlemen, I also want you to be aware of some very interesting facts with respect to our competitive advantage in Trinidad. As you know, we are deep south of the Caribbean. We are very strategically located. There's one point I want to harp on, and it's a point I'm actually very proud of, which is education. In 2004, our population was tapping into about 7% of our population tapped into tertiary education opportunities. That's 2004. In 2008, 40% of our population tapped into tertiary level education opportunities. And 2050, we anticipate 60% of our population will tap into education. That includes technical, vocational, and university access to educational opportunities on the island. I'd also like to tell you and plead with you to support us on a couple of initiatives. We are looking at to develop, as mandated by the government, trade and investment opportunities clearly iterated by my colleagues. Just to name a few areas which I would appreciate your further investigation on, influence in at this level, and your ability to coerce some of your business colleagues into beginning to explore and exploit reciprocal business opportunities for both sides of the Caribbean Sea. We are focusing on industries such as ICT. We have just developed a 1,700-acre plot of a technology park referred to as the Tamana Intech Park. We are looking for investments there. It is going to be a world-class, first of its kind in the Caribbean of tapping into software development, hardware production, and the like, in the form of a technology park at ETEC, managed by ETEC, which is one of the state enterprises. We are looking at film as an opportunity. We anticipate hundreds of millions of US dollars in terms of developing film. A film production studio is something we are focusing on in developing as a matter of almost urgency to tap into that. There is Hollywood in the West. There is Bollywood in the East. We want Tollywood in the South. We have music and entertainment. Carnival. Carnival is 1 week away. Generates 154 million TT dollars every season. And it's an area you need to look at as an opportunity for investment. You have no idea the volume throughput of tourists you can tap into if you actually focus on that as an opportunity. Reciprocal opportunities in Carnival. Bringing Carnival here in a considerably more structured, well-marketed, well-presented manner in the United States in itself presents an opportunity I think we have missed out on and we need to develop. I will go. There are many others I can talk about. Fish, fisheries, food processing, food and beverage. The list goes on. Are the areas we're looking to diversify economy on. I want to spend 2 or 3 minutes on an issue that's closely because it was brought up when we first started this evening's proceedings. And incidentally, where's the guy who played the guitar? So, when we started, when we rose for the national anthem, I think for the very first, I arrived here on the 7th of February. And almost immediately, I probably had the equivalent, I'm not kidding you, of about 60 meetings. And that has took me through the length and breadth of Washington, Virginia, Maryland, New York, to name a few areas I've been in a matter of 2 weeks. And today's the first evening. It has sunk into my head. I'm in the United States for what I heard the Star stand about. Quickly followed by fortune and love and liberty. So thank you for reminding me. You did a wonderful job. Thank you. Our good mistress of ceremonies brought up a point about the passport issue and the diaspora issue. Let me spend 2 minutes on that. I came into New York, I left Washington at 6 o'clock this morning, came by train, and I went and I literally had 3 or 4 meetings with my staff at the New York consulate. We have not yet appointed a general counsel for New York. So what I've been hoping to do is to spend some time in New York, at least looking at the systems, looking at what is actually causing the delay in your passports and the time for appointment, securing an appointment, until a CG arrives. Ladies and gentlemen, I must also admit in the public domain, and I am supposed to be excellency, a diplomat, and diplomacy is about comity, amity, and not enmity, so I'm not here to make enemies with anybody. But I was a bit alarmed about some of the figures I heard and about the length of time it seems to be taking in securing an appointment for your passports. Let me give you 2 or 3 assurances here tonight. Assurance number 1. It is with purposeful intent this problem is going to be rectified. The issues we seem to be having is one of a bit of training, customer service training, proper management of appointment system, and taking the burden of you spending time asking questions with warm bodies, automating some of our processes, putting some of these services online, standardizing the way we interface with you electronically. So it takes away that aspect and the torturous experience of having to drive, find parking, go and sit down, spend 6 hours, and you become a bit disenfranchised, if not annoyed, leaving there. I think I really had a clear understanding of the issues today, and I think by the end of tomorrow, because I called another meeting with the head of immigration, etc., tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and I am not leaving that council until we have come up with a workable plan to have this rectified, and the deadline for me in terms of implementing a plan is 1 month. It's going to take some time, because it takes a while to de-learn certain things, attain neutrality, and then relearn the new way of doing business. So I'm pleading with you for 2 or 3 things. Give this new team a bit of time to rectify some of the problems. It will be done, but it's going to take a bit of time. That's 1. 2, we have to retrain some of our staff into adapting to some of the new the policies and processes we hope to implement as a matter of urgency to serve you better. It was an unshakable commitment. I want to serve you the way I know best, which is with excellence. And to do that, we have to come together and work it through Miami, New York, and Washington in a seamless manner. Secondly, I also need your assistance, and I'm pleading with you with this. I am not necessarily satisfied as the ambassador that we have a grapple on a database of our diaspora. I am hearing several different versions of the number of persons we have living in New York and Atlanta and Charlotte and Florida. And this is one of probably many groups that seem to be all over. But I am finding difficulty in understanding how these groups connect as a unified whole. And I'm asking you please to support the cause and heed the call to contribute towards assisting us in building our database of individuals. A third plea I'd like to ask of you tonight. I am not going to deny the tremendous benefit all of you have played in assisting the United States in its own development. I'm also not going to deny the role you have played directly and indirectly in assisting the development of Trinidad and Tobago. But I need you to show your patriotism. I'm asking each and every one of you, henceforth, you are Trinidadian, you are Guyanese, you are proud to be rooted in a particular sovereign state. Show your patriotism. Go out and buy a lapel pin, put it on henceforth on Monday, please. And I'm very serious about this. Far too often, we go to foreign lands, and it's very easy for us to forget from whence we came. And remind everybody around you, your colleagues, your friends, your workers next to you, or your Trinidadian, and that initially, that subliminally conditions your mind into being patriotic. And that's the plea I'm making to you. Lastly, I would actually like, if I can, I met most of you already, but meet with you briefly, because I would like your contact information. I will share with you mine. Let me just tell you now. My email address is nparsan, which is my last name, nparsan@gmail.com. That's the easiest one to give you. And my phone number is 202-262-2066. That's 202-262-2066. If you can give us some information with respect to contacts that you have for nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, please email the list to me. It will be dealt with and will be communicated with them. Lastly, and this is to the nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. Be not intimidated by the smallness of our country, but be inspired by the greatness of our vision and the grandeur of its leadership. I thank you.
Thank you.